Hey everybody, we're having a little trouble. Kevin's trying to get in with the StreamYard. Maybe he'll get in here in a little bit. Just giving him some instructions. Um, Hold on a second. I'm getting all these texts and stuff. I appreciate everybody coming by. This may work out. Let me see if he's making any progress. I'm doing this through Messenger. I don't see him in yet. But while he's trying to come in, everybody's coming in here. Um, hold on. I tell you what I'll do. So I believe in helping people. I've had a lot of people help me to get to this point. You guys have been great. So we're all part of these Facebook groups on Facebook, the Bigfoot groups and all this. And I saw a guy made a post. His name was Tracy Arvin, and he made a post about his moonshine. It was Smoky Mountain Squat Shine. So me, being me, I was like, hey, send me a few samples and I'll review that for you. And so in the mail, that was Monday, I believe. In the mail came a mug, couple samples of Smoky Mountain Squat Shine, and I'm going to do a quick review while we're waiting on Kevin. And I was scared. I've done this before, but I was scared to do this because I'm like, what? What if this is not good, right? So he sent me a shot glass, and right off I mean, it's moonshine. You got the corn smell. It's not going to be complex at all, but I've been looking for a mixer, and I don't like the heavy corn. So this is a lighter corn with a sweet finish. That's pretty good. That'll make a good mixer. Um, it's 90 proof, and it's let's see here, Smoky Mountain Squatshine.com. It'd be a good mixer. But I'm going to. We're still waiting on Kevin. Greg, I might need you to save me here if Kevin can't get on. But I had this to do. So this drink I mixed up years ago. I'm gonna put the moonshine in the glass. I got the moonshine, my favorite drink, Sundrop. I used to call this sunshine, so this is Squatch and Holler Sunshine. Now you can't use a real corn heavy flavor on this because it'll ruin it. I was gonna make sure this is pretty good here and see. Yeah, that works. That'll get you in trouble, actually. So it's pretty good. Y'all go. Let me see here. I'm gonna run a banner. Um, I'm always about supporting people trying to get started. Uh, Smoky Mountain Squat Shine. It's made in East Tennessee. His granddaddy, great granddaddy. Okay, hold on. We got Kevin. Okay, he's almost there. Now, hit. I think he's right at that point of getting in, y'all. I appreciate y'all coming in here. All right, who we got? Joe Parker, Diane Fowler, Wanda Howes. Did you see that? Blue Eye Northern been here a while. Thank y'all, Greg, Flat Rock, Misty. I appreciate y'all coming in here. We're gonna try to get Kevin in here. Y'all know how it is. We live out in the country. Y'all, that's pretty good. I was scared after I told him that that I would review it that it wouldn't be good, but it is. It's not a Oh yeah, I know. Me too. That's why I usually mix a one shot to a big glass of whatever, and I'm usually like straight bourbon. Never, I don't drink much, but that mixes good with Sundrop. So I might get talking crazy here in a minute. I'm a robot voice. No sound. Let me see what we got here. Let me leave and come back in. That might be what's wrong. I don't know if I can though. That's what's worrying me. Let's check this out. Let me move this mic a little closer. How about that? Is that better? It might be because I had this phone beside me. All right, he's okay. And I don't see him in the studio. I'm gonna send him another link. Sorry, guys. All right, let's do this here. Invite, copy. All right, we'll see if that works. Yeah, this is the tough part because like Kevin's done this a couple times, but if you don't do it a lot, it's hard to remember the process. It's not too bad. Oh, I guess y'all saw my post. My sister went to Gatlinburg and brought me back all kind of goodies, and this one here, I'm scared to open. That's what. Who I think it's. Oh, wait a minute, I see him. All right, here we go. I'm not going to review the Sasquatch poo. All right, hold on, Kevin. You're good. If you can hear me, I'm going to take this off. Hey, how's it going?
Man, I had a heck of a time. I went to, I think what the deal was is I went to Squatch and Holler instead of your other uh, website name, and I think that's where I was getting messed up.
Well, yeah, we just click on that link.
Yeah,
Well, you
I went on. Actually, we had 3 people here working on it, and still could.
Well,
We popped on go in the studio, and then they come up and put it on go in the studio again, and every time it would come up record me. That's all it would show. And I'm like, well, what's going on? You know,
that other link helped.
Yeah, that hooked me right up, man.
Okay. Well, what you missed, I did a little review of a guy sent me some Smoky Mountain Squat shine. I know you've had some experience with shine in your past, probably. I would say a little bit, maybe.
Is it pretty good stuff?
Yeah, it's got the hint of corn up front. I don't like a real strong corn. It's 90 proof. It's real smooth. There's no harsh burn. It's just I don't know if he's put. It says grain and cane, so apparently it's got cane sugar.
Yeah,
and it's got I would say probably some other grain in it. I'm not going to guess. I've got some ideas what it might have to soften it a little bit, but yeah, and you'll like this. I mixed it with our favorite just to see if it mixed well. So we got Moonshine and Sundrop. It's called Sunshine. So
oh yeah,
it's real easy.
There you go.
I might get to talking silly here in a little bit, more sillier than normal. But for the people, I know a lot of you have heard Kevin's story, and I've been around. I've been knowing you 40 something years, probably, right?
Yeah,
or better, or more, and
practically.
Yeah, and I never heard your story. You lived 2/10 of a mile at times for me.
Yeah,
and then on the north end of the county.
Yeah,
too. And I never would have heard your story if I hadn't have started doing this.
Yeah.
And I know you told it on Mike's show, and I was just blown away by the detail. And I know it gets kind of old, telling the stories over, but we've got people joining that's never heard your story, and there'll be people that'll watch us down the road, and we get, views that other people don't get. And
Yeah.
so, just a little background, y'all. Kevin, he lives in the same county as I do. We've known each other a long time. Families known each other. But I lived on the south end of the county most of my life. They live kind of middleish north end.
Yeah.
And it was you and your brother, y'all were about 12, 13 in that area.
Yeah.
And if you want to, just let us know, what was going on and how it all happened. And I'll ask you questions, about the detail, but just give a little background.
Well, we was swimming at a little blue hole we used to go to all the time. It was an everyday thing. If we didn't have chores, of course, just like all of our generation growing up, we was at the creek or in the woods, most of us doing something. And that was mine and Eric's thing is we stayed at the creeks, either fishing or frog gigging or seining or, just whatever.
Just hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we decided, get up and go. We was leaving. And we head up the hill. We picked our bicycles up. Our dog, we had a German Shepherd, and for some reason he stayed down by the creek, and that was unusual for him. Normally he followed us up, everywhere we went, but we was on them bicycles, he was right next to us. And for some reason he didn't come. And I thought that was kind of, after hindsight, I guess I thought that was weird. That I don't know he sent something, smelt something or what. But we come up the hill, and prior to that, I'd had a guy ask me about some calves missing. If I'd seen any coyotes or anything like that going on, because he had a lot of new calves that were just being born missing, and they had, they probably had 12, 15 stalls where they were, feeding the calves with a bottle every day, right up the hill from where we were swimming. Well, when we got up to top of the hill, I heard a calf like bellowing, hollering like it was stuck. I thought it was stuck in one of them. They had like the great type steel fences in front of them. They had the little igloo houses, that went in, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I thought one of the calves had got stuck because it was just hollering. And that's what got my attention to look over. Well, when I looked over, I seen something that was like, I really couldn't make out what it was. It was like, what the heck is, it, from the back, it looked like a bear. I mean, it was, but it was a lot taller, bigger. But at the time, I couldn't see the true size of it because it was bent over. It had a hold to the calf. It was trying to get the calf out, and that's what the calf was hollering for.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I don't know if one of me or Eric made a noise, if he smelt us. I don't know what happened to get his attention, but he hadn't looked over our way, when he let the calf go. And he come across the fence. When he came across the fence, he straddled it. He never put a hand down. It's like he just stepped right over a 5-strand barbed wire fence now. He put one foot over, then the other foot, and like it wasn't nothing. It was just everyday thing for him.
So right at this moment, I mean, your mind's telling you with the color and everything at first, and not seeing much detail that it's probably a bear. And for people, people in East Tennessee, y'all may have bear. We don't have bear here, so that was probably a shock to you to start with.
Yeah.
And then when it stood up, I mean, your mind has to be going crazy.
Oh yeah.
To see this.
You couldn't even put it into words. It was like and when they say speechless, you're literally speechless. You don't know what to call this thing. You don't know, because at that time I didn't know a lot about Bigfoot. I'd never heard a lot about him. I'd heard a couple of little stories about, I think I told you prior about Billy telling me about the days they hunted them with dogs and stuff. That somebody had got a sighting them one time in a certain part of the county, and they started hunting with dogs trying to, catch this thing or whatever.
And check this out. That was Giles County, right?
Yeah. Yep. Sure.
Man, I heard some stories a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, man, that I'll talk to you about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, so um that well, I've said this a bunch of times. When you first see these things, your mind's going is just twisted up, and
Hmm.
the size,
Oh yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
to get that across. But how big was this guy?
Oh, I was top of my head. I was 12 years old, and on a 5-strand barbed wire fence, it come to about right here on me when I was 12 years old, and I mean, my head probably touched his belly button. I would say if I was looking at where our belly button is,
Do you
the
think he
top of
was
my
double that?
yeah, I mean, my face or top of my head would have hit his belly button. That's the kind of stride he had.
Mm,
Because you got to figure, I'm this tall, and his stride is taller than that to go across the 5-strand barbed wire fence and not touch it.
right.
Oh, his stride was taller than what I am really. I mean, to be
Yeah.
able to, unless he jumped a little bit, I don't know, but I know he never touched the fence with his hand.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he was a reddish color, and I thought that was odd, because I always heard, anytime I'd ever heard stories later on, I always heard he was black. He was dark and all this. And man, he was the prettiest, like red color. He had like a reddish brown tint to him. He had a gray ash to his face. You could see his dimples, and he had like, little like dimples in his face. He had a big mouth. He had like horse teeth. I mean, they were all flat. He didn't have like no canines or nothing. They were all flat.
How
Big.
how close how close do you think you were to this thing at the closest point?
Uh, Probably 15, 18 foot. I mean, he was right there in front of us. I mean, he
Oh
stepped
man.
out when he come out on the road. He kind of hoofed at us, like, to let us know I'm the man. Like, like he was letting us know he could mess, and he could have snapped us in half, no problem. I
Yeah, he
mean,
was
come out, the definition of his muscles, his chest looked like a man's chest. He just had big old, his chest just, I mean, looked like he pumped iron every day, really.
yeah.
I mean, his arms huge, long. They come down way, way past his, way past his waist. I mean, and this thing was just huge, man. And there's no way, looking back on it, there's no way that it could have been somebody in a costume. And when I was a kid, I was trying to weigh that out. Was that real or was that somebody in a costume? Well, this thing was every bit of probably 9, 10 foot tall. And I mean, every bit of it. And could run. And I mean, the definition on this thing, it would have been Hollywood magic if this thing was real. And who's
Got
going to be out there in 90 something degree weather doing a Hollywood magic? Uh,
no, not where you were at. No,
yeah,
not
I lived.
and
Ain't nobody trying to do that kind of crazy stuff. And that was before internet and all that. So ain't nobody trying to fool nobody. And I didn't see no guy over in the bushes with a camera. But
I
this,
got a
this,
got a good question for you here. This blue-eyed, her and her husband research. Kevin, was his coat dull or shiny, if you remember?
it was, it wasn't really either. I mean, to tell you the truth, it was kind of in between. It looked clean. It didn't really look matted up. It was some of the prettiest. The hair, when the wind blew, you could see it just, it looked like a dog that had long hair that has our hair like human hair. That's kind of how the hair looked. It looked soft. I mean, it looked
Yeah.
like if you went up and touched it, it'd be soft. It wasn't really shiny, but it wasn't flat. It kind of just had a natural look to it, kind of like, I guess, our hair, when, I mean, it really wasn't real shiny or nothing.
So you said the face was grayish, ashy looking. Did what parts wasn't covered with hair?
Well, he had deep, deep ridges right here. His eyes went way back. They looked black. His eyes almost did. I ain't gonna say his eyeballs was black because it just looked that way. Being that young, and
Yeah.
to me, I'm looking at a demon. It's like
Yeah.
what am I looking at? But I do remember the ridges up here were real deep, and then when you get up here is where his hair starts, and it comes around. Round kind of down through here, and then kind of on his chin and down. It's kind of how it was. It was kind of a little bit right here, and you know, this part right here was all clear. It was all like you could see it. I mean, like in his cheeks, you could see was just like our, I mean, like our skin. It was just, just it was clear. but it looked almost had a clay look to it. You know what I'm saying? It had like that.
That color,
Yeah.
maybe thick skin
Yeah.
on
Like
an
it was
animal. Yeah.
real skin almost. And he had a lot, like quite a bit of fat in his cheeks. But he had like had like a dome on his head a little bit, you know. I remember that. But I mean, at the time when you're seeing something like that, you only take certain things in, you know. And I didn't really. I mean, that's what I mainly took in was his chest and his face, and maybe his arm a little bit.
But listen, you're talking. This is an incredible up close encounter, because when somebody tells me that they saw their teeth and they can tell me what they look like, that's too close.
Oh yeah.
And you said it looked like they were square, like horse teeth.
Yeah, because he opened his mouth probably 2 inches, and I could see his teeth, and they looked like what you would imagine. They were brown and black, you know, but they were there. I mean, but they were all. I mean, it was almost like our teeth. It was perfectly flat, you know, top and bottom.
Yeah.
But they were huge. I mean, they were. I'm gonna say the front ones was an inch across easily, you know, and a little over this way, you know. They were huge, and if this thing was movie makeup, the mouth was just so real wet, and just, you know, and the eyes was moving like ours. I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know that a lot of people doubt what's out there, but I mean, I've said it before and I say it again. I put it on everything in my life. I put my hand on a stack of Bibles. I'll do whatever. I know what I saw. I know what was there, and I know it's real. And I know this wasn't no joke. When he got done, he huffed at us. And I remember when he went across the other side of the road, there was another fence. He went across it the same way. And I remember the leg muscles he had, the definition on the side were so big, and his hips. He had a pretty good sized butt on him. You know, he did have a pretty good sized butt. I do think it was a male. I didn't see nothing like, you know, to tell you that one way or other.
Right.
But I do believe it was a male. Because this thing, I wouldn't think the females would get that big. I might be wrong.
Well, you said the chest was built like a man.
Yeah.
And the shoulders, so it was a male,
He was huge. I if I had to estimate, looking at, if you look at somebody that's 7 foot tall in the world, and you look at the size of them, whether they're a basketball player or whatever they do, and you go by that and you go by their weight, I'd say he was probably 750 to 800 pounds easily.
That's probably being conservative. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and he wasn't nothing but muscle. I mean, when he went across that fence, he went across that field so fast. I'm talking like 2 acres. He cleared in, I mean, it didn't seem like 30 seconds. He was across that 2 acres. And, you know, ain't no human can run unless you're Usain Bolt. Ain't nobody running that fast. I mean, and in a suit at that, and you'd had to been on, you know, stilts like we was talking about at one time. There's no way. I mean, it's just not possible. And
well, that's the one thing you notice, because you've walked across that field, hundreds of times, going from the creek probably, and and you got to think with that stride, they're covering some ground.
Oh yeah.
And I always, our sighting happened, 12, 15 miles apart. The crow flies, I guess, with a couple years difference. We figured out. I've always told people that what confused me about Patty, of course, Patty's a female, but that she was barrel shaped. The one I saw looked like an athlete, like a linebacker with the, with that shape. Now mine was further away.
Yeah.
But that's what confused me, was that I'd see this on TV and watch the Patty film a million times. I'm like, that's not what I saw. So I'm almost talking myself out of it. But then in the later years, I've seen pictures of the athletic look ones, and I'm like, oh my God, that's it.
And that's what I've seen, and that's why I describe him like that, because that's what he was. He was just, I mean, he looked like he pumped iron every day. Yeah. I mean, he looked like something that could have literally picked me up and ripped me in half if he wanted to, without.
I I'll tell a funny part of this story. You've heard me tell it before, but we have people that haven't heard this, and some have. But so Kevin told this story on Mike's show, and he said his brother was with him. So I talked to his brother a couple months later, and I mentioned it, and he's like, "Oh man, don't be doing that. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I hate it when Kevin does that." And I said, "No, look, man, I've seen one. I don't. I know you're not crazy." And he stopped, and he said, "You have?" I'm like, "Yes." So I know you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
I just want your side of the story. And what was funny, you know, Eric, y'all, he's so funny. He said, "See, Kevin's giving this detail. Eric, like, he's big, he was this color." And he said, "I knew in the first 5 seconds I was looking at a Bigfoot." And I think he said he dropped his bicycle and took off running as hard as he
Oh,
could.
took off running. I was
He,
a dummy. I stood there.
he
You
said, I ran as hard as I could, as far as I could, and I stopped to get my breath. And I looked back to say something to Kevin, and he said his dumb ass was still up there looking at him. So I'm glad you were. I'm glad you did. I'm
Yeah.
glad you know, because this amount of detail, and it matches up with some of the eyewitnesses that we trust that we've met in the last few months. I mean, when you're telling me you see the teeth and the dimples in his skin, and it looks thick, and I told you that the one I saw, the way I explained it, was the color of a Hershey milk chocolate bar, the actual color. So that's
Yeah.
kind of similar. It wasn't dark black. And
Mm-hmm.
and so it wouldn't have took much for us to have seen the same one.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure there was more of them.
Yeah.
But so when this thing was trying to get this calf out, and you think it might have winded you, you had told me before that it looked almost irritated that you had interrupted him.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
did he kind of give you a stare down while he was walking, or did he just stop and?
At us the whole time. I mean, from the time he seen us, he never really took his eyes off of us. I mean, he might have looked down once from what I remember, but yeah, he was looking at us the whole time. I mean, it's like, yeah, basically we interrupted dinner. I don't know what, if that's what it was. Uh, but he was in the process. He had to hold to that calf. He had it in his arms. I could see when I looked over there, he was bent over in the cage and he was picking that calf up. When he realized we were there, he let it go. And I mean, and that surprised me. I'm
Right.
like, he's not scared of us, so why would he let that calf go? But he
Startled
did.
him.
Yeah.
Were,
He
were
let it,
y'all were
you
y'all
know,
walking up the road? Were
huh?
y'all on the road? Were y'all on the road?
Road. We were pushing our bicycles. Uh there was a house that used to be there. I'm not gonna say the people's names but there used to be our neighbors up the road. There was a house there. About when we got to their house, is when we first seen it over there in the barn, trying to get the calf, and we could hear the
Yeah.
calf. And I'm like, "What's wrong with that calf?" I had planned on going over and helping it. I was gonna go if it was stuck or whatever. I was gonna help
Right. Right.
it. I knew the man that owned the calves. I knew the man that farmed the land. So I was gonna go over there and help the calf. Well, that ain't what it was. Like I said, got up there, it was something totally different. And I mean, it just blew my mind. And I mean, he could have stood there and eat the calf in front of me, and I wouldn't have moved. Probably, I
Yeah.
was, because it was like when you see something like that, people don't really realize when you say that how much that means that you can't comprehend what you're actually seeing. You're trying
Yeah.
to digest it in your mind, but at the same time, it's like this ain't real. How can this be real?
Yeah.
What is? You've never seen nothing like that. What is this thing? You
Well,
know?
but that's a good trait to have, Kevin. Because the fact that I did the same thing, I tried to explain it away, but in my life, I've done that with things. If something weird happened, I'm looking for a real cause or something
Yeah,
normal, and then you
yeah,
kind of rule stuff out. Sometimes you find the answer and you move on, but
yeah.
with some of the things that's happened, you finally get down to have to say, well, it wasn't these five things. It only leaves a couple more, and I
Yeah.
like the fact that, I mean, in a way, you need to trust what you see.
Oh
But I
yeah.
know as being a kid, and I know especially now I've only seen one, but let's take mountain lions, for example. We're not supposed to have them. The first mountain lion I ever saw, I had the same reaction. My mind was, like, what am I looking at? I'm not supposed to be looking at this in Tennessee. Now, the more of them I saw, of course, that reaction goes away. So anytime you see something that's not supposed to exist, and then what you saw and what I saw was a monster,
Yeah.
And it does. You're noticing the size, you're noticing the color, the movement. You're fearing for your life. Kevin wasn't worried about. I mean, Eric wasn't worried about you.
Oh,
But he took off.
Yeah.
But no, but in seriousness, I mean, some of the detail. I know Peyton asked you one time about the nose, and that's very important detail. He asked you, was it a triangle like a gorilla, or is it more like ours? Can you tell everybody the description that you
It
gave
was,
me?
yeah, to me it was more like a gorilla. But I mean, maybe not as open though. It was real wide. I know maybe it was more like ours when you come to think about it. It was just real big like a gorilla's. It
So
was
was it
real,
mixture?
yeah.
Like
I mean,
a
but
mixture like
it
hooded
was
but big
like,
nostrils?
yeah, but it wasn't like they were like sticking up real far like a gorilla's. You could see
Right.
them more pronounced than ours, but I think that's because of the size of it. Because it
Right.
was so, it
Wow.
was a huge nose. I mean, he had a huge honker on him. It
Well,
wasn't way out. It was just wide. It was real
right.
wide.
Well,
But
any animal with that muscle mass is going to need bigger nostrils, like a horse or a
yeah,
cow.
yeah,
Giraffe, anything like that. You notice the size of the nostrils to take in that air, so to get the
yeah.
oxygen through. So that's what you expect.
I heard no howls or nothing like that, but I did hear a lot of knocking when I was a kid. I'd be out in the woods, and you'd be out there on a normal day, and of course you go out there, lean up against a tree, and you squirrel hunt and sit there, for hours. And I would hear something knocking, on trees.
Yeah.
And my closest neighbor, other than the ones I was talking about up the road, uh, they were older people, so they wouldn't have been out there doing that. My
Well,
other my other closest neighbor was 3/4 of a mile away to the west of me, and then there was nobody behind us for miles. So the knocking that I heard, you know, trying to explain that now or after, it's like, you kind of put it together. You kind of put two and two together, like that had to be what that was. And we went camping all the time. Me and my brother, we would go and knock over old dead trees and build a little log cabin. And a farmer that we knew would give us the old plastic off his silos, and that's what we'd build a roof out of. And we'd go out there and camp out all night, even at 12, 11, 12, 13 years old. But we never had no, incidents or nothing. And, like I talked to you before, for a little while, I was scared to go back out and hunt and do these things that I normally do, go to the creek and frog gig at night and do, all that kind of stuff. It kind of does mess with you. But then you think about it long enough and you think, well, like I'd said, if he has never messed with me before, why should I worry about it now? It's like he's part of nature out there, and I mean, why shouldn't I just go on? I always have, he's never bothered me. And
well, and another thing too, Kevin. You told me that's what y'all did. I mean, if he took that away from you, you didn't have nothing to do. You
yeah,
didn't have anything to go out and do. So I commend you for and you said it. If he wanted to get you, he could have got you right then.
oh yeah, yeah. And the thing is, in my opinion, when it come down to, him letting go of the calf, he was thinking of his own safety. Even though he knew he could, do whatever he wanted to do to us, he
Yeah.
really didn't. Well, we weren't either probably very good. So he was probably thinking of his own safety, and that's why he done what he done. He let go of the calf, come across the fence, and he went on down the field. When he got down to the edge of the woods, he turned around and looked at us, and then for about maybe 5 seconds, and he turned around and went on off in the woods.
I
And I
think.
thought about it
I
that as I got over, and maybe that's the means of his protection.
well, I agree. Because you remember I asked you, were y'all walking down the road? Because I've been walking on the road before with tennis shoes on and walk up on deer. When we lived on Globe Road there where y'all lived at times, I
yeah,
would walk from the store to our house, which was a mile.
Yeah.
And in the morning, sometimes I would walk up on deer. They wouldn't hear me because I wasn't making any noise.
Yeah.
So you had bicycles, you probably had tennis shoes on, wasn't making any noise. He was busy, and he let y'all slip up on him. And these things are so stealth. It's very rare to see one.
Oh yeah.
So he's probably thinking, how did these little suckers sneak up on me? How did I let this happen? And you're right, he retreated. And he probably. Oh, well, let me ask you this: Did the calf stealing continue after that?
I really couldn't tell
Do
you.
you remember?
Uh, now the guy that had been having them coming up missing, he never come around or asked me about it again. So
Yeah.
Because the cows that were having the calves, the field was right in front of our home, and so that's why he'd come to me and ask me, "Have you seen anything going on?" He thought maybe coyotes or something like that was getting them, and
Right.
I had told him, "No, I don't know. If I see anything, I'll let you know." Well, he had literally said that he had some get out of the cages that they were in up there, and they come up missing. He assumed somebody was stealing them or something was going on like that. I guess I'm a kid, so I don't know the whole details of it, but I
Right.
do had some calves come up missing. So
We let me show. Let's see if we can do this. If it'll work. So y'all, there's a couple of bad words in here. Um, but this recently was come out this week, and we were talking about livestock. This is out of Australia. Let's see if this works. And y'all don't the language. I think there's a couple bad words, but
You got a cigarette box?
No, just put my boot next to it. Fucking rip clean in half, and then this next to it.
Got a good shot of it? That might be a better one there.
And it's going up the hill.
Hey, what about just digging a hole and burying them? Yeah, that's right. What about up there? What's up there?
so we were muted when that went on. But
yeah,
that I don't know about that because the lack of blood,
mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean it was killed right there. It might have killed it up in the woods and threw it down or drug it down there.
Yeah. But the thing,
Um,
why ain't it ate? Why ain't anything took off of it?
yeah, and so that's exactly why not? So maybe how hogs are. Maybe they caught a couple and one of them was trying to attack them, and I don't know. I mean that right there though. I thought that might be appropriate because it's
Yeah, I seen
this
something,
week.
heard something about that here about a week ago or so. I think I
Yeah.
heard some pigs being prints being left.
Now the guy. If you listen to the guys, I think they did legit find that by their reaction, but
Yeah,
it could have been somebody playing a trick on them too. But those tracks, the distance between, and with that flexible foot, how it supposedly kicks up some of that
yeah,
softer material, it looks pretty good. So me personally, I would like to be there. I'd like to have Greg Howes with me and you, and let us just canvass the whole area, look at what happened up in the woods, and before I make a decision on that, because we're just showing a little bit, but that is scary. And
it
if
is.
that's true, that was a big animal that did
Oh,
that.
yeah. But uh, that's the thing to me, and I mean, I don't want to sound ugly on here to nobody, but that's the thing to me that irritates me is people who do plant things or try to say they've seen one and haven't, or film something that's fake, like that Colorado deal.
Yeah.
That just was not. I mean, you could look at it and clearly tell if you broke it down and played it real slow and paused it in a few places, you could tell that was not not real at all. But if you've seen one, you feel like nobody has to fake it because like me and you, we know they're real. So why do people need to try to fake anything to try to be part of the crowd, to try to be, to fit in or whatever? That's not a way to, and really it was a good thing in a way to see it, but it wasn't. In a way I wished I'd never seen it.
Well, you got a little revenge I want to talk about. You said your family My dad laughed at me at first until he had something happen. But your Uncle Jerry's not with us anymore. But he made fun of you for years, right?
Yeah.
Tell the audience what happened at your house later.
Well, I always, have a bonfire on the weekends a lot. People would come over, and Jerry was, a usual. He come over all the time. And I told him, I was like, I got to go in the house for a minute. I was gonna get a drink, and I left him out by the bonfire. And I was teasing him. I said, "Don't let that Bigfoot get you." With him. You know boys.
Yeah.
And I love Jerry to death. And he was the kind of person that would, want to pull a joke or say something at times too. But I swear that night he come in there, he was so pale faced. I don't know exactly what he seen, but he told me there was a Bigfoot out there, and he got so scared. And Jerry is not one to get scared over stuff,
No.
His face was, he didn't have no blood in his face. It was white as a sheet. He looked sick when he come in there.
Yeah.
And he would not go back out there. I went back there to the bonfire, and he would not go. He swore up and down that he seen something that looked like a Bigfoot right there at my house, come out of the bushes a little bit, right there at the fence, come out of the bushes and went back in. He swears he's seen something like that come out. Now, I've never, and I'm going to tell you, the way he looked, to me, I believed him. I believe he's seen something.
Well, that's the difference, Kevin.
Huh?
That's the difference. Nobody in this chat knows you, but I do.
Yeah.
No, you know me.
Yeah.
You knew Jerry. You knew his reaction because he made fun of you for years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's not going to go back out in your yard. Something scared him.
Yeah.
You've probably seen him scared a few times. So when you know that person.
I never that's like that. Never. He was literally tore up bad. It really affected him. In a bad way. He was scared to death. He really was. And I to this day don't know what he saw other than what he tells me, know. But he was. I'd never seen him like that. But my dad, yeah, of course, y'all crazy, he just wrote it off and acted like we were, we seeing stuff, But and that's the thing, you can tell people. And like I've said before, I don't care who believes me. I don't. I know what I've seen. I know for a fact what I've seen. And if somebody wants to believe me, it's good. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
Actually, I had never told anybody that I seen Bigfoot. It was something I kept in me. It was something I felt like if I told people, they'd be like, "Oh, you're crazy. You delusional or whatever." So I never put it out there for anybody to have one opinion, one way or the other opinion about it. So when you talked about it, and I finally felt like, because I know you, and I know you, how honest you've always been your whole life. You hold that in high regard to be an honest, good person. You always have been. And when you kind of shared your story about it, that made me feel confident enough to bring mine out. Because, and Mike's too, the way both y'all's encounter was, it kind of reminded me of mine, or it put me in mind of what my Bigfoot encounter was like. It wasn't exactly like yours, but a lot of like you said, a lot of the details that y'all seen, it kind of related back to what I seen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, these guys ain't, and I know Roger wouldn't be, sitting there joking or lying about something like that. He's being legitimate. If he was laughing, then I would be like, yeah, he's joking. But I knew you were being serious. So,
well, you know me. We've known each other all this time, and we didn't talk about it. We had no idea that we had seen this because, you couldn't talk about this for nothing. The people we grew up around, man, they laugh at you, And finally, I got to a point. I heard Mike on Cliff and Bobo show and Bigfoot and Beyond. And he put his email out there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to contact him. And I'm glad I did because this started all this and it allowed you to come out and you've told it.
Yeah.
This is like the third time on a show. And I really appreciate it because I think this stuff this is documenting for
Oh,
the
yeah.
future.
Yeah.
And I think you and Mike had two of the best Class A encounters of all time. I'm sure there's other people that have, but maybe you telling your story will give them the confidence. I know there's somebody in the chat right now, Cryptic Crystal. She told Greg and I both she had an encounter, and she doesn't think it's that great, but it is. It
Yeah.
didn't last long, but it's like mine. I got to see how this thing moved and how the
Yeah.
body worked and all that. So it's very rare. I found out. I thought when these shows came on, you see YouTube and Monster Quest and all that. Oh hell, everybody's seen one, and
Yeah.
I come to find out they haven't.
Yeah.
And it is a little frustrating because let me back up. Me and you are in a different situation than a lot of people. A lot of people want to believe, and they believe good people. They filter through the hoaxes, and they're sharp enough to just put that to the side and say, "Oh, those a couple guys or gals just hoaxing and whatever." Which a lot of it is. You know, there's a lot on
Oh, yeah.
out there, but we have the luxury of knowing. So uh, there's a different feeling, I think. I've talked to a guy I've become friends with, and he wants to see one so bad, and I'm like, do you really? I mean, I don't know at 52 years old I could handle an encounter like yours. Now we're
Yeah.
going tomorrow. We're going investigating tomorrow in the south end of the county on a piece of property we're getting access to. There's been a cow kill, not recently, but within the last couple of years. Some stuff happened, and this non-believer, these two people were non-believers, and one works with Peyton, so that he's heard him talking about this and starting to put pieces together. He told us on the phone, speakerphone, that I think it was last hunting season. They were walking close to where this cow kill had happened. It looked like something. He said it looked like something hit it in the top of the spine and just snapped the spine,
Dang.
and then took a bite out here and it tore some of it up or whatever. But he said him and his buddy were hunting, and I think it was last hunting season. And the guy that was talking was on the right, and the other guy was on the left. He said he heard something to his right. It was close, and it screamed so loud, hit him in the ear. He said he dropped his gun and fell to the ground and got in a fetal position and covered his ears. It was hurting so bad. The other guy started violently vomiting immediately. And
Was it nerves?
I think it was the sound was so loud, and maybe the type of sound it was, said it was vibrating them inside and everything. And they went back a couple days later and supposedly found a track. Now, there's a spot that's about 20 acres there that he didn't even know his granddad owned. Nobody has stepped foot on this spot in this thick spot for over 50 years.
Dang.
We're going in there tomorrow with some clippers and we're going to look for signs. Now, sometimes I'm not scared when I'm out in the woods and then stuff will happen. I'll get nervous. But when I
Yeah.
get home and thinking about what we did, that's when I get scared.
Yeah.
But we're going to carry our video cameras, and there's going to be three of us. And I wanted him to tell his story and kind of show us where things happened. And I got to need to talk to Greg later. I'll call you, Greg, if you're still up. He was going to give me some tips of what to look for. He's told me some amazing stuff just this morning, like 5:00 this morning. And I appreciate them passing on the knowledge, and so Kevin and Crystal and all y'all in here that's had these experiences. Y'all are not alone. We're coming together. This technology here is allowing us to share and learn. And
Yeah, most definitely.
my goal is not get snapped in half like you were talking about. But
Yeah.
and I'm not looking to prove anything like you. I'm just I'm trying to make sense myself.
Yeah.
Because why were we shown this?
I
know,
don't. And the thing is, yeah, I heard you say that some guy wanted to have an experience. Well, when he does, he might change his mind about wanting to have an experience because I'm gonna tell you, man. Even at 12 years old, I think I'd feel the same way. You're never as scared as you think you can be when you see something like that.
Yeah, it's another level.
It is
Um,
something you never experience unless you actually are there. And I mean, I'm gonna tell you, man, I don't want to see another one. I really don't. You know, and if I did and I was hunting, I would never kill one. I just think that's wrong. I think, seeing stuff on YouTube about people, there's that one video I seen about this guy had, I don't know if you might have seen it or not, the Bigfoot head that he had frozen, showed his eyes and
yeah,
all this, Bob, all this stuff. And I'm thinking, man, y'all are, if that thing didn't bother y'all, why do you go out there and, that's almost like murder, because to me, I don't know if they're a form of us, or if they come from gorilla or monkey type, or if they somewhere through, you know, uh, when man became human, if they was a whole different, evolution of something. I don't know, but I mean, I would never, unless they try to attack me. I
well,
would.
let me ask you this. Just this is simple as it gets. When you look this thing in the eyes, did you see a intelligent thinking
Oh, definitely,
being? Yeah.
definitely, yeah. I didn't see him as dumb. I mean, and at the time, you know, I felt like he had a higher education than I did too. I wasn't
He-
going to try to fight with him over who was smarter or who knew more. Or,
yeah. You probably Kevin probably thinking about going and helping him get that calf.
I would have let him have it. I 3 or 4 more. I guarantee you I would have. I
Yeah,
would have. Let's open this one up too. Here you go. This will be for supper, because I wouldn't even dare, try to test him or anything. But I think Mike's story, man, is so good. I think he ought to write a book, man. He just is like, I mean, I couldn't soak everything in like he did. And I guess it's because he was in front of this thing so much longer than mine or your encounter. He got to really kind of grasp what was going on. When you have one come up in front of you and it's only maybe 10, 12, 15 seconds and it seems like eternity, you still can't grasp everything. It's like your mind hangs on to what it sees, but nothing else. It's almost like, to me, when he was standing in front of me, he didn't have legs, because I was so focused on his chest and his head and how tall he was, how big he was. I bypassed the legs. It ain't like I looked him up and down, because he was so tall and big, and this thing was just, and he huffed at us. So, of course, when he done that, I looked straight at his face. It had my attention when he made that noise.
That's amazing. When he did that, I ask you details. I don't expect you to remember any of this, but when he huffed like that, did most of his top lip move, or was it both lips, kind of, sort of? Do you remember? Because I mean, it just showed his teeth.
From what I remember, that's when I saw his mouth open. When he done that huff, he huffed and his chest just kind of blowed out and it come out of his mouth. I didn't see his lips move a lot, but I did see his mouth. That's when I seen his mouth, see his teeth.
You saw how big his mouth was, I guess.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But I mean, it was like the hoof noise was like 10 times deeper and harder than we could do. I mean, it was like just real aggressive, mean, and deep and hard and loud. I mean,
me and Peyton heard that a few months back, and I agree with you. It's and he was just irritated. The one that we heard was mad.
Yeah.
And when it did it, I was like, "Oh, we done stepped into something here. I don't know how we're gonna get out of it."
Yeah. I mean, I basically, when it come down to it, I would have bowed down on my knees and been like, do whatever you want, because that's basically what I was doing anyways. I didn't feel like I could run. I felt like if I run, he'd grab me, because the difference in me and Eric at the time was Eric was off to the side. And when I walked up, I was more on this side, the side he come out of. So when I come up on him, he was more in front of me. So I didn't feel like I had room to run nowhere unless I turned around and run backwards. Eric took off, was gone. He's like the old saying, let's go to the woods, because if I can outrun you, I'm safe.
Right. But here's another thing, Kevin. Here's another thing. you're not telling me a story that, and you were the lone witness.
Yeah.
You had another witness there
Yeah. Yeah.
that we all react different, you
And
know, to different things.
if everybody knows my brother, they would know my brother wouldn't just go along with me to make up a story. They know
Yeah.
how he is. And Eric don't even like to talk about it.
I
Because,
know.
you know, I mean, he knows what we saw, and he's never told nobody. Eric's never told nobody his story or about us having the encounter, you know. We just both stayed quiet about it. When we went to Daddy, and then right away, you're basically being, you know, told you're crazy and being discounted for what you just seen. Well, then that right there puts a cap on telling anybody else. You ain't, you
Yeah.
know, it's like you don't want to share your story. You don't want to tell nobody, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, when I found out about yours and Mike's story, you know, that changed a lot for me. That, you know,
Well, and we're more mature now. I see people post things out in the regular Facebook, like we have our Sasquatch and Bigfoot pages, and a lot of people here have, you know, we visit a lot of that, and so it's like-minded folks. But you know, one of my friends just posted a truck that he saw in Alabama, had a bunch of stickers on it, and it was like Bigfoot Patrol or something like that. Well, when he posted it, I immediately liked it, and I started asking people, you know, hey, do y'all know who this is? Well, I saw he got a few laughing emojis or whatever, and that's cool. I mean, I'm mature enough now that it doesn't even phase me,
yeah,
because I've realized, I've said this before, that, and you know this too, it when people think about something like this could be possible, it scares them,
yeah,
and that's their first reaction a lot of times.
yeah,
So it doesn't bother me anymore much. I mean, I had a guy, I was on one of the podcasts, he made a comment. Um, I welcome skepticism,
yeah,
because if you're believing everything, if I get trapped into believing everything, then I'm not doing myself justice, because I'm not built that way to start with.
yeah,
Even though I've seen things, we're going tomorrow. I did a video, did 7 parts testing the camera out. I got to the 7th one. We found some tree breaks, some twists, and whatever. First thing I'm doing is looking for the natural causes. We found several of them that were natural, but then there are a couple that were like, wait a minute, why is this here? You know,
yeah,
but if there's any kind of reason to write it off, I'll say, okay, that was that. But I'm remembering this spot because it's a spot we've had activity,
yeah.
you know, at night.
And
So
I it I think it is true. A lot of it, maybe. I mean, not everybody, but what we talked about, you know, me and Mike. I think living in a safe world, everybody's got an idea of what's safe and what's not out there, and a lot of people don't want to believe it because they want to continue having that safe little idea in their head of nothing being out there. It makes a
now,
lot of, you know.
me and you probably have almost gotten bit by snakes, charged by bulls,
Yeah.
mama cows or calves.
Oh yeah.
We've run up on danger all of our lives, and just
Oh yeah.
regular animals, you know. Um,
Yep.
I had a coyote get up on me one time. I had a bow. That's all I had. And from that point forward, I started carrying a 357. I was like 13, had this big hog leg on my side, and I didn't care if I got a ticket or not, because I wasn't getting caught in that situation again. You know?
What happened to me? I deer hunted on the ground for years. You know, I never. I mean, I had a summit climbing stand and I had a ladder stand. I used it sometimes, but for years I hunted on the ground. I had this big old oak tree. I put this big old cedar. You know, every year I'd get cedar branches off and build my brush blind back up in front of me. I just round it off, and then the oak tree kind of sit down off in like a ditch a little bit. So I would lean up against it, and I was kind of down in a hole. Like, while I was hunting a soybean field, and there was one behind me. So I was hunting 2 fields at one time. So I mean, it was excellent hunting. But I was sitting there one day, and I hadn't quite built my brush part up yet, and it was early season. And I'm sitting there, and about probably 60 turkeys come out in the field. And I was thinking, man, that's cool. You know, I was sitting there watching them. I was watching the toms do their thing. They was out there, you know, shuffling and doing this and that. Well, I was sitting there, and they kept getting closer and kept getting closer. I was pretty still. I wasn't moving. And I'm not kidding. This turkey come up and hit me on the leg like 3 times. I was bruised bad. I mean, he nailed on some thin overalls, and at the time, and man, he come up and hit me in the leg like 3 or 4 times. I guess because he didn't know what I was.
Yeah.
And then I took the butt of the gun. I was muzzleloader hunting. I took the butt of the gun, hit him with it, and he went and run off then. But yeah, that actually had that happen to me. A turkey come up and hit my leg.
And you're full camo when you're turkey hunting. You could have bobcats and everything else come up, sneak up behind you.
Cats. I've shot coyotes. I've shot, I had a doe. I was hunting in a fence row one time, and I was hunting right on a deer trail right in front of me. And I had a doe come right up to me and sniff me. She didn't know what I was. I was sitting there up against the fence, and she come up and sniffed me, and I never moved. I was like frozen stiff, and she just moseyed off.
Well, here's the thing, Kevin. You and I both know you've seen deer spook and kick, right? Yeah. I had one do me like I was sitting on it's a weird shaped persimmon tree. I had my bow with me. She did the same. She come up on the wrong side of me, standing right beside me, and I knew if I spooked this deer and she turned and kicked, leaving, she could kick my head, put a dent in my head, and I was scared.
Yeah.
But so Cryptid Crystal, how do you prepare for a Bigfoot, like a Bigfoot sighting? There's no way.
No.
There's no way because, I can tell you the size, the measurements, but what doesn't process is the thickness, the size of the muscles, the sheer just strength and size.
Oh, yeah.
And your mind, even with the mountain lions, when I went in our store, you remember where John Hargrove's silo was at there?
Yeah.
Or the silage,
Yeah.
Well, the first mountain lion I ever saw, I was in my Mustang late at night. I come over that hill there. It's a dip, went through there, and there was a raccoon gathering up something in the road. Well, I was going to just whip around him. No cars were coming. And I saw a tan. So I thought deer, so I'm getting on the brakes, right? Well, it was a mountain lion. And my mind just twists because that's not supposed to be here. I've hunted these woods all my life. Oh, crap. Now I'm going to start watching up in trees.
Yeah.
All his thoughts. And, of course, it ran off. Well, there was a half mile from the store. I went in, Jimmy, Matt, Daddy, all the guys were in there. When I walked in, it was like your Uncle Jerry. What's wrong with you? You okay? Looks like you've seen a ghost. Now we're talking about a cat. Now you take something out of your worst nightmare, out of books you've read, out of stories you were told when you're kids just to scare you.
Oh yeah.
Around the campfire, and now there's one in front of you. You can't prepare for that.
No.
You cannot. I don't, some people are built different. They don't panic. I think people handle it different, but I don't know if it's any getting ready for it.
Oh no. Like me and Eric, we handled it totally different. I stopped in front of this thing and I didn't really know what to do. I was trying to see what the next move was. He was gone. I mean, that was his first instinct, was to run.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't necessarily to stand my ground. How are you going to stand your ground against something like that? I can't tell you. The only thing I can tell you probably about me is I was just frozen stiff. I mean, that was at 12 years old, that was kind of my reaction, I guess. I mean, what else is there to do? I mean, and speaking of mountain lions now, I don't remember what county. It was right outside of Bedford County. I know the guy personally that took a picture of a mountain lion over there. I don't remember what county it's in now, but he took a picture with his phone, and it was legitimate. He took me back to the spot, showed me the spot exactly, and it was a big mountain lion that he took a picture of there going down the road one day.
Well,
and it's like they're here.
People laughed at me because I wrote that story about them. I was telling people about them. And I had the same way with this Bigfoot stuff. I had people come in, hey, man, I've seen those mountain lions. Don't tell nobody because they'll think I'm crazy. Well, it was scaring people. And the first question that I would get asked every time, are you sure it wasn't a bobcat? I'm like, I said, listen, here's the reason I know it wasn't a bobcat for sure. A bobcat is about this long, tail to nose.
Yeah.
The tail on this cat I saw was that length.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
not counting the rest of that cat,
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't a bobcat. But
Probably
and I think what scares people, Kevin, is because I was the first one to come out publicly about all the mountain lions. I did a story on it. I contacted the Nashville News, Stacy Case. We worked together on her story. I didn't get any credit for it. I was pointing her in the right direction, who to interview and stuff like that and what they were saying. She finally did a story on it. And then some of this other stuff that I have said and it's come true, right? Now I'm talking about Bigfoot, and I think it's scaring the crap out of some folks that remember how people called me crazy, and now they're like, oh, hell.
Is too, between me and you, is from the time we were able to do it, I mean, till, I haven't as much recently, but we were in the woods or on the creek all the time. So when you talk about these experiences and people think, well, hell, you're crazy. You've seen a mountain lion and a Bigfoot. Well, yeah, but you think about the hundreds of hours I've spent out there in the woods where you home or you've done other things. I've been out there in the woods, all over probably half my life. It takes a lot of time, and it's almost like you're putting in work and don't even know it to be out there for this stuff to happen. And it don't happen to everybody, but it does happen. And if you legitimately see it, I feel like in a way you're a lucky person, but in a way you're not. It's like plain. It's something you want to see, but at the same time, you don't want to see it. You don't want nothing to do with it, because then walking around like a fool telling people, and what you saw, you want people to believe you so bad. Like me, when I, later on, I was going to contact the BFRO. I wanted them to come and hook me up to a lie detector test. I wanted to be on their show. That's how I was like, I'm going to prove to people Bigfoot's real. I'm going to take a lie detector test, and I want them to hook me up to it, and I want to do this test, but I never could. I couldn't never figure out how to get a hold of them. I called that number and done it, and that was before social media got really big,
and you think about this, you look at the sightings in our area and other areas around the country, and we know mine's not documented. Yours is not officially documented. People we know that have seen these things, they're not officially documented. So what percentage are?
Oh, yeah.
How
many people have seen them and have done the same thing, not said anything about it,
A lot.
I mean, there's a bunch of people out there that have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Bigfoot's as rare as what people think it is. I do believe they're smart enough and just intelligent enough to know to where they can go and can't go to stay away from people. And I do. I mean, I think they slip up every now and then. I think it just happens, and that's where
you said something.
Huh?
You said something when I said bingo. How many hours you and I combined to put in the woods?
Oh, yeah.
And then we got David Blalock here. He's out in the Pacific Northwest. You got these hunters that you're out there a lot. I mean, it's your favorite place to go, and you're lucky enough to go.
Yeah.
And it's not every time. It's if I'd have been a minute earlier or later going out in that field, I wouldn't be sitting there talking to you about this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You probably had to spend, hundreds and hundreds of hours to have that encounter. I mean, you got to think of it like that. You had to be a certain, and it just so happened at that age. Now me, it was a little different. I think he just slipped up. I was 12. It just happened, but I think a lot of people like you or like Mike, you put in that time after time after time. You go to the woods in the morning, you stay up to lunchtime. You go home, get a bite to eat. You go back at 2. You stay till dark. Deer season, you go months out of the year, and then you go squirrel hunting, then you go fishing, you go hunting, you know, whatever you're doing, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, quail hunting, dove hunting, you're constantly out there in the field or in the woods or something your whole life. Well, if they're out there, you've got a much greater chance because of the time that you have put in. And a lot of people think, well, I can't go out here in the woods and simply see Bigfoot. Well, it don't work that way. I don't believe it would ever work that way unless you just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but
I
regardless,
agree.
it, who believes me can, who don't. I know, I know for a fact. I mean, I'll go to my grave with it. I know what I've seen, and I don't know why I've seen it. I mean, like I said, in a way it's a blessing, in a way it's a curse. I don't know why. I don't know why I was chosen to see what I saw. I really don't. And
Well,
what 40 something years for me to even talk about it, to even come
yeah,
out with it, tell somebody. If I,
that's happening a lot though, Kevin.
Yeah.
A lot of people our age are and we've had not only that years ago, but we're starting to hear stuff, from 2008.
Oh yeah, people are coming.
And 2 or 3 years ago. Well, the rock toss at me and Peyton was like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
That started this mess. That started this paying attention. Now we know what to look for more than before.
yeah,
And so, like going tomorrow, yeah, I'm a little bit prepared, but to like Crystal, I've been talking about this for months now. I've interviewed people. I've had these amazing stories that have scared the crap out of me. Tomorrow, if I walk up on one within 20 yards, I might not be here anymore. I might have a heart attack. I don't know. But one reason I'm going is because it's just like we keep going back to the mountain lions because they weren't supposed to be here. I kept telling my dad, we have mountain lions. We have them. And then he finally saw one. And when he finally saw that one, I was like, now I don't care who else believes me. He knows,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Peyton's interested in the subject. He believes me. He believes you. He believes Mike. He believes all these people we've met. And he's had stuff happen that's hard to explain unless you put it in that context with the Bigfoot or whatever. And he's told several people, I want to see one time and I'm done.
And
So
that's what was so good about my encounter. Over everything, I would say that was the best thing about my encounter is my brother was standing there, and I got somebody that also seen him. That is the best thing about my encounter is because I wasn't alone to come in and say I seen him, and I have nobody to believe me. At
Right.
least my brother was there. He seen it. We both had the same experience. So it's like you got somebody there, that believes, what we seen. I mean, it's like it makes you feel better to know that at least somebody else believes you, but he didn't have a choice to believe me. He was there. He seen
He
it.
was there. Here's something I find funny. So you have these people with PhDs and degrees, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And they'll make comments about people like me and you sitting here talking about this.
Oh yeah.
And like they don't know what they're talking about. We know people that live with these things, that
Yeah.
see them, that have to adjust their lives. The people I talked to, and they lived in Pulaski, South Giles County, they had to adjust the way they did things. So these people that are looking down their noses at us, what they're doing, they're burning the bridges to the very thing they're seeking.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you talk about rednecks and country ass folks and these damn hunters and with these stories, I'm not taking you anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not trusting you. You're not going to take them, and I know several other people that are not. So they're seeking this proof, but they're cutting the people off that could speed the process up for them.
If they would just open their minds to listen to us, people like this that have had actual encounters, they, after hearing 100 stories, they can maybe put something together to really justify something that's real for them, just by listening to us and putting the same pattern together or the same whatever, they'd figure. I mean, by the end of it, they should be able to draw a sketch of exactly what this thing looks like.
Yeah,
Or
if they talk to you, right?
no, not if they
Yeah,
talk to all of us.
that's what I'm saying though.
Talk to
Uh,
any of us that's had a genuine encounter. By the
so,
time they're done talking to about 100 of us, they'd probably have something. Instead of, instead of sitting there putting us down or saying whatever we're crazy or whatever. I don't give a damn how crazy they think I am. I care. I'd laugh in their face because I'd be like, look, you can take your degree all you want and you can go to the bathroom with it because I know what I've seen. I got it wholeheartedly inside. I seen it with what God gave me. My brother did too. And whether you want to believe it or not, I really don't care. I don't
that's
like,
right.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. You can have all the degrees in the world you want, but if you ain't never seen it and ain't got proof, you're just going on a whim. You're just going by, you
And
need
you're
people to tell you what's real, what's out there.
and you're offending the people that could help you is what I'm saying
Oh,
too.
yeah,
Now, Bobby Joe here, I got some information for you. She said same thing with the blackberry. It was running all over Middle Tennessee. If you've heard that, Kevin, Columbia up there around Duck River in this county. Well, I've got some information. I talked to Don yesterday or day before, Don Odom,
yeah.
and a former game warden. Everybody, Kevin knows him real well.
Oh, yeah.
He told me that over there from where you live across the interstate or along that Reese Road there,
Mm-hmm.
there was a horse has been attacked within the last week or so, and they have pictures and everything, and
Dang.
it doesn't look like an offset cat paw. Let me show y'all if I can do this. I'm gonna show y'all a picture. It may mute you, Kevin. So this is what Peyton found in Moore County just last week. Hold on. Let me move you out of the way here. I don't think that's gonna work. And I'm gonna move me too. Okay, that's a mountain lion where they have all that black stuff over there around Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And when it stepped on it, it removed some of the material.
Yeah.
Now you see how it's offset. Well, so Don told me that they've had a horse attack over there on Reese Road recently, and the claws are more straight across, and it's really wide like a bear.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that it's a bear. But he thinks it's 99% a bear. But he's wanting to get more
proof.
Yeah, he's wanting to look at it a little better. But see, we're not supposed to have those things. I've run up on bear in East Tennessee. It's talking about how your mind messes with you. My first thing I thought, I don't have any candy in my pocket, do I? I didn't want him tearing me apart, to get to the candy. But
well, it's like I had and I mean, again, just being in the woods a lot, but when I was up in Michigan, I had told you this story before, I think. When I was up in Michigan, Tyner, my ex-father-in-law, he had 70 something acres. Anyways, he had a road built around it, and he had, hunting little shack. It was kind of like a little building he'd built on the west side, the east side, and north side. I think there's 3 buildings. Well, most of the time I went to the right and went around, when I got in the first shanty or building or whatever you're going to call it there. And that's where I most of the time hunted from. Well, this day, that side over there was kind of slow. So I decided that day I was going to go over to the left side. It was a little thicker woods, and I'm hunting with a rifle. So I'm really wanting it open. But like I said, it was slow over there. Well, on the way to that stand, I seen something black. And I thought, I know they got black bears up there. So the first thing I thought of was that. I'm like, it's probably a bear, because he's had elk come up on his property and this and that. Well, when I got closer, I could see it wasn't a bear. It was actually a black cat. It was like a mountain lion. It was actually black. We called the game warden. The game warden come up there, and he went up there and he went in the back. He told me to exit the woods. Went back there, processed it all, done all this stuff. He come back out and told me that I was seeing stuff, that I was crazy or, delusional, or I seen a bear or whatever. Well, this game warden, when he retired, he wrote it up in the paper, and my ex-mother-in-law kept it, that he had been lying all along, that there were black cats in Michigan, and they was keeping it a secret to keep from scaring people. And this was a game warden that had been a game warden for almost 40 years. And in the end, he actually come out with the truth about it. So it made me look like a fool in front of everybody. He actually come out with it in the end that there were actually black cats up there. I mean, that's different here, but that was kind of a story that had happened to me.
Well, they do that. They do that. They don't want the public to be scared. So let's take the first remember the first fire ants we saw.
Yeah.
Then we saw armadillos for the first time.
Yeah.
Then we saw the mountain lions or eastern cougar that follow those.
Yeah.
And every time they're like, no, that's their answer, right? But so what do you think they're going to say with an 8-foot hairy beast?
Oh, yeah.
And here's another thing. If I hear people say, well, what reason would they have? Do you know how many billion of dollars a year we all spend on hunting? Hunting license, ammo, guns, permits, hunting clothes, the tanks go in heat,
license,
everything's billions of dollars. Now, if they come out today and say, "Yep, y'all, there's them Bigfoots out there, they're real, and there's probably this many in every state, and these are the hot spots. These people have been telling you the truth." How many people would stop hunting right then and there?
Oh yeah,
it's all about money.
I mean, I don't doubt it at all. That, and I mean, it's kind of scary to even say this on here, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if our government don't already have one that's frozen somewhere or mounted or something,
or working with them,
the Area 51, or something. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. It really would.
That's the thing. It wouldn't surprise us because of the stuff we found out. If you go back in history, people say, "Oh, our government wouldn't do that." And I don't want to get in trouble because we don't use certain words and get me kicked off. But, people, I don't believe that would ever happen. We'll go back in history and see how many times that's actually happened to people.
Yeah.
But Joe Parker said, "Roger, y'all kinfolk?" No, but we might as well be.
Oh, yeah. Our moms and dads were partiers with us growing up. We always had, like I told the story before, your dad taught me how to swim by simply throwing me in the deep end of the pool at y'all's house. And, but I love Doug to death, man. You had the best dad. I loved him to death. Your mom was great too. And I mean, y'all were a great family. I always enjoyed coming to y'all's house. And
we had fun. We do stupid stuff, almost get killed. I remember jumping off of I was jumping on Billy and Kathy's trampoline one night in the dark, pitch black dark.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I fell off of it. I just landed right on my face. I was out there in the mud. But y'all, I'm gonna open this up for y'all. Wondered what this is? The original bag of poo, Sasquatch poo. My sister brought me that back, and we're gonna see what it is. I'm guessing cotton candy, but I don't know.
Maybe chocolate.
It's got a sticker with it. Fell out, but it's brown cotton candy. It looks like.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm not gonna taste it.
That's pretty cool.
Y'all open it, okay? Blue Eye said open it. If y'all see me gag and run out of here, y'all know not to buy any of this crap. Literally. Black cherry.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Might be pretty good.
Black it's cherry, black cherry. That's what it is.
That's good.
Now it may be like you may be unlucky to get the one that tastes like boogers or something. I don't know. But that one right there I got lucky. Y'all
my girlfriend will tear it up. She's a big cotton candy lover.
That's good. I don't need to be eating that, but yeah, that's pretty good. Kevin, we were gonna go an hour. We've been an hour 25. I appreciate you coming on. I know
brother.
it's hard. It's hard to find time, but that's
Oh,
one.
anytime anything I can do to help you out, man, and to get this out there and stuff, I'm more than glad to do it for you, man.
I appreciate it. We've heard your story twice. But I think it's important to get it out there in different areas.
Yeah,
5 years from now, you may help somebody from
yeah.
this area. Um, there's Don Odom. Don Odom, we've been talking about you. We usually do. But
All I say is people believe because it is real and there's no doubting it. I mean, I don't, if you get anything out of this, I mean, whether you want to believe me or not, just I can tell you for a fact it is out there. I mean, it's no joke. It's no Hollywood magic. It's a real deal. There's no doubt about it. I mean, my experience, I know it's real. I don't have to. I'm not trying to prove it to nobody. I'm just telling my story. Like I said, the good thing was Eric was with me to back it up, and yeah, whenever I finally got to talk to you and Mike, it just kind of helped ease mine out, and that was the first time I'd ever told the story. I mean, it'd been inside me, and it helped to talk about it. It helped to get it out. It really did.
And it's the same way with me. And there was benefits from it that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
A little more confidence. Met some amazing people.
Yeah.
A lot of these people in chat here, they're so loyal.
Yeah.
And supporting and funny.
Yeah.
When you got people that can rag on you and in good spirits, that's the way we grew up. Me and Kevin grew up like that.
Yeah.
So I love being in chat watching other shows too.
Yeah.
I'll stop by and say hey, and I know it's hard for you to find time, and I really appreciate this. And y'all, I've got Miss Amy Boo coming up. Not this next week, the week after next. I've got Matt Pruitt on Monday. We're going somewhere on the 7th. Expect some random lives. I think y'all might enjoy it. I know I'm going to if it happens. Thursday night, we have Miss Amy Boo. She can talk about a lot of her research that she's done. Tomorrow, I don't know if we'll be able to go live because of the signal, but we will film. And I'm probably not going to do any editing. Just I'll put them out there. And I appreciate y'all. Really, really, really do. And Blue Eye, I agree. We need more shows like this. It's so hard to find up close encounters like this. That's why I don't know if Kevin really knows how special his encounter was. Like I said, mine was 180, 200 yards away, 30 seconds. It was incredible for me. But with him and Mike and others, I know it's just so hard. But that's my goal, is to do some of the fun shows and I'll say this again. We take this seriously, but if you can't have fun doing it, then it'll get old quick. And
That's right.
I'm not going to argue with anybody, play argue. I'm not, people have their own beliefs. They have things that have happened to them that haven't happened to me. That's fine. I'm everybody, there's enough room here. But
I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't discount anybody at this point, for what I've seen, like I said, what I've lived with, knowing I wouldn't. I mean, I kind of get a gist of people telling their stories. I try to figure out whether they're, pretty true or if they sound pretty true. Yeah, I mean, I might believe them, because I don't want somebody not believing me. But at the same time, it really is hard to filter out who's legitimately seen something and who hadn't. It's a hard thing to really, I hear people tell a story and I go online and look and I hear this and that, and it's really hard to filter out, like the pictures you showed, the pigs. It's like, did he just get annoyed and kill them, or why didn't he eat them? Or so there's a lot of answers, just like there is for my point of view. You know, mine was kind of straightforward, I guess, what he was doing, what was going to happen, and all that. But a story like that in Australia, what was going on, you know, person will probably never know why the pigs was dead there and he didn't eat them, or there was no blood, or no, you know, maybe he done got 2 or 3 and killed the other ones and was just annoyed by them. I mean, you know, you don't know. I mean,
Right.
that's the thing. But yeah, man, anytime I can help you, anytime you need me for whatever, I'm always here for you, brother. You know
I
that.
appreciate you. And we're gonna come out and have a fire. It's fixing to get cold, so we
Yeah.
definitely want to come do that. And y'all, if we can go live at his house out back, we'll do that.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm gonna definitely get you a couple stickers in appreciation, you know, for you helping me out, whatever. And y'all have a good night. If there's any other of our shows that another thing, Misty Haynes. There's a Halloween show in the plans, and I'm gonna dress up for the first time since I was 9 or 10 years old because they talked me into it. And as soon as they let me know what we're going to do, I don't know if it's going to be my show on Halloween and then they're going to join me or vice versa. But I think it'll be fun. We'll tell ghost stories, and I'm sure a lot of laughing and cutting up, you know.
Want to tell what you're going to be?
No.
No. Okay.
It came in today though. It's in there, and my daughter's going to do the makeup for me. So
I'm actually going to dress up this weekend. We're going to a Halloween party, and I'm going to be a zombie. I wanted to be something. I didn't buy no costume. I made mine up, and I wanted to be something, you know, kind of my own creation.
Well,
so
if you can get some of this stuff right here, you'll get to walk down later at night. That moonshine, y'all, and it is good. It's good moonshine. It's not harsh. It's not. Me and Kevin's probably had some made in a radiator before. Probably have killed us, but it's got a good smooth flavor, good smooth finish, and it's good mixer too. Y'all be sure and let me put that up one more time. I'm not getting anything for this. I promise y'all. Just trying to help a guy out. Kevin didn't get to see it. SmokyMountainSquatShine.com. They ship it to most of the states. And I think I'm gonna order me a bottle just to have. I mean, if we show up at a party with you know, Squatch and Holler with Squat Shine, that'll be kind of funny. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
But anyway, thank you. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see y'all on the next show.
All right,
Wish
Rod.
you luck tomorrow.
Take care, brother.
Hey, yes, sir. Hold on just a second, Kevin.